Okay, so this video is going to be taking a look at how you make a schematic in Fusion. So we've already taken a look at this in Tinkercad. So we've essentially, if we hit simulate, we've got a motor driver chip. You can find it on the bottom right. I think that most of you have done this already. So this is it. It's the H-bridge motor driver chip. So it's in simulate. When I press this button, goes positive. The animation isn't great. We got rid of the LEDs. This is negative, this is positive, and this is negative. So we're going to try to do this circuit. One of the things I haven't shown you about Tinkercad is that if you press on the top right, there's a schematic view, and you can sort of break down what's happening. So there's a positive side of the battery, there's a negative side of the battery. There's two pins for each of the motors that connect down here and will connect to the board. This is available. It's not something that you could edit, but if you really wanted to sort of look at it closer, you can. Okay, so here's where we're starting. We open Fusion 360. We're going to the drop-down menu. There's an option to create an electronic library, which we could do, and I might show you later. But we're going to click on this new electronic design. From there, you're going to get this window. From here, we're going to go to new schematic. This library over on the side will not be open as much, but if you hover your mouse over, you can open and close it. Okay? The hard part is going to be finding the parts. So I'm going to kind of get rid of that part. So we're going to find the motor driver chip first, because so when I go to the internet, I can search for Fusion libraries, and it's for the L293D. And once I hit enter, I get essentially an Autodesk website. I click on it, and then I'm going to look for this chip. So it's the L293D. I'm going to hit enter, and I only have one library so I'm going to hit download for that. It's going to save it. I'm going to open that folder just to see what's going on. You can see that I've done this a few times just to make sure that it's going to work. I'm going to remember that it's in my downloads, and we're going to deal with it right away. Okay, so from there we can close that. So now we're sitting at our schematic, and it's a little overwhelming, but we'll figure it out. So on the top right, there's a little gear on a book, and so it says Open Library Manager. From there, we're going to go to the Import Library. We're going to choose Import from Local Disk. We're going to go to our Downloads folder. And you can see that I don't even have to unzip it. It's a very small file. It's only 7 kilobytes. I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to hit open. So now, if I check these boxes, it's now a local library. Okay? And it's turned on. You might find it in this position here, so you can sort of see that when it comes in open. So it's assuming you're going to use it. So just make sure these are checkboxed on, and then we're going to close the library. From there, we're going to search for the well, let's do it a couple ways. So let's search all of them and look for the L293. And you can see that it comes up, and you can see it's the library that we just downloaded. When you click on it, down here you sort of see the footprint. If you double click on it, you can bring that component out. If you're holding it and moving it around, you can right click and you can rotate it. So I probably want it to be, I don't know, in that position. Okay, I hit escape once and I'm back. Okay, so I'm gonna need some more items, and I don't I'm going to check to see that they're in here. So I'm going to type up here. First of all, I'm going to check all these boxes just to make sure I'm looking at all the libraries. And I'm going to type in the first CON dash Molex. So CON is connector, Molex is a company. So if it is turned off, you want to turn it on. While we're here, we might as well look for the next one, which is the Omron. Omron. So it's a switch that we're looking for. So if it's in this turned off position, you want to have it in the turn on position. And I think that should be enough for this project. Okay, so we've got our main chip. We're going to type in con Molex, see if that works. And it did. Okay, so we're looking for two very specific part numbers. So it's 2223, and then it's these two part ones. So this is a 2-pin header. We're going to bring it in and we're going to put it down on the bottom corner. Then we're going to hit escape once to get out of that part. We're going to grab this one and we're going to hit till all the little pins face up. Then I'm going to hit escape. So now we're going to try to get the Omron switch, and it comes up. It's the very first one, and double click on that. We're going to bring in 2 for this side. We're going to hit rotate, and we're going to go 2 for this side. Okay, so we're doing as good as it's ever got. We're going to look for a resistor. Hopefully I spelled that right. I want a 10K resistor. So this is a 10K ohm. It's the right footprint. I'm going to double click. I'm bringing it in. And I'm going to tie it to ground. So I'm going to put them right here. They're not reversible, or they are reversible, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so that's our first step. We went out and we got all our parts. So now it's just a simple matter of kind of tying them together. So in this case, we're going to grab the net. We're going to do the obvious ones first, like tying our grounds together. We're going to establish one of these pins as a ground. And I think we're going to bring it right up to here. It's going to ask if these two nets can be connected, and we're okay with that. And then we can connect that. These are internally connected, so I believe that we can just connect them here. If you weren't sure about that, you could bring it from and connect them here. And it's going to ask if those are two connected. So the dots mean that they're connected. It's not a great idea to have, I'm going to hit escape to get out of that. I'm going to get rid of that. We don't want to have circuits in our design. And that's just because it tends to act as an antenna. Okay, so we have essentially our grounds all tied together. This is going to be our positive. So we're going to go back up to connections. We're going to tie this to VCC. We're going to bring it down the middle. And we're going to connect it to VCC1 to VCC2. We're going to connect enable to that as well, as we did in Tinkercad. And this one connected there. So all our grounds are connected together, all our positives are connected together. From here, we want to have our motors connected to the Ys. So we'll come down from here. Now we don't want to make it hard to read, so we can bring it across the wires, but they can't have the dot there. So and then this one will come up to the other side. And you'll notice I'm going to the Y's, not the A's. The A's are going to be connected to the buttons. And then I have to do the same on the other side. Okay, so what haven't we connected? We want to have our resistors. So now let's say we want to move something. If I hover and connect to this little plus sign, I can move it where I want. And that one's in good location. So then I can hit escape to get out of that. I can go over to connect, and I can connect to the resistor. So the point of this resistor is to tie this to low, this side. Now we also want to connect this to this pin here. So this, when we press the button is going to pull the input pin up. And then this side is going to be connected to positive. So we'll have it here. And then this side will be connected to positive, so we'll have that there. And then this is going to be connected. Now, this pin, I'll zoom in here. This part of the switch, these are connected internally, but now they're connected to this resistor, so I can actually make a path just going over here, and that makes it a little bit easier than the other side where it's kind of a wiggly line. So if I wanted to make that edit on this side, I can select that line and I can delete it, and then I could do the same maneuver. So I go back to this, I'm dragging up, and I'm going to connect. So there's nothing in the way from this connector, the switch, to this resistor, so it's going to have no resistance. And I can do that on this side too. I just got to make sure that I'm in the connect mode. And I'm going. So in this case, I want to go to this line. I can hit escape and I can start moving things to make them cleaner. But in this case, it was probably better just to connect it to that line. And the last thing I want to do is connect this to positive. And then this one goes to here. And then this one joins into that resistor. And then this has to get power from somewhere. So it'd be nice if all the wires weren't green. But if you want to take a screenshot right now, this is what we want to come up with. Okay? From here, we're going to press this button over here, but we might want to save it first. So I have dropped down and I have hit new project, and I've created something called motor driver board. And then I'm going to call this one schematic. Let's put the date in here. So it's March 9th as I'm doing this. And let's change this to L293D driver board. And we'll hit save. Okay, so that's been a lot. I think that it's good to go to the next one. So we've saved our design. We've brought in all our parts. So now we're just going to do this drop in. We're going to switch to the PCB. And this one should be a little quicker. When you're doing this, you can zoom in. You can pan with pressing down the center mouse button. The first thing you have to do is bring in components, and as you're doing that, if you're dragging them around, you can click the left mouse button and it'll rotate it. Okay, and I'm just going to do this from memory. So if you bring it up to the top. You want to have the little yellow wires as sort of as untangled as possible, if you allow me that. And you can sort of rotate around and sort of see where you're going with this. It looks like it's going to be this one on the bottom. And I just keep rotating until it makes more sense. So we're looking for the least amount of tangled as possible. And I've done this a few times, so I'm going to kind of just go from memory. We'll be able to solve all problems, no matter what. So if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. It's just that we want to have as few crosses as possible. So these are just the resistors. You can see that they're tying to the center ground. Which it kind of jumps back and forth. And our last component. Okay, so once you get to this situation, you can shrink your board. So I'm already kind of in the move command. So here's the move command up here. And if I click, I can drag it. Now I don't want to have this crooked. So make sure you're not going to click here. You want to make sure that all the lines are parallel before you sort of let it go. And typically when you're making boards, the smaller they are, the cheaper they are. So we're always kind of looking at cost effectiveness. And then it's got to make sense. So this is your very first board, so maybe we're not going to worry about placement too much. If you're moving, you can sort of see that there's a placement up here that shows you where they are. So if you're trying to line up components, sometimes it helps to look at that number. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible so that the video is not too long. Okay, and then the last thing that we want to do is we want to place a hole, and there is no hole that is large enough, so we're going to type it in, and we're going to go with 120 mils, and we'll place one on each side. I made it go away because I hit enter. So it remembers. So we're just going to place one on each side so we can screw it down to our project board. And let's see if we can put a chamfer on. Well, let's see if we can miter. Oh, it choose. And let's go with 100 mils. So you just have to click near. Sometimes it doesn't like that corner because it's the origin. Okay, and the last thing we have to do is we have to run our traces. So I'm going to make the traces fairly big. So I think that that's about 50 mils or something. And then what you do is you basically click on it. There's a layer. So you can choose between top and bottom layer. and you can choose the type of, so this one would be diagonal. This one would tend to put an L in here. So let's maybe go to diagonal. And I'm going to try to get down the middle here. So it gives you sort of that happy sound when you're completed doing that. I'm going to try to go down the middle with this one. Now I can switch to a different, so I can go from top to bottom, and now I could actually have them cross because they're going to be on a different plane. I don't know if that's a bad idea, but it is an idea. I'm going to go underneath that resistor. And you can get close, but you can't touch. You can also hit spacebar, and that switches the layer. So now I'm red. So a red is going to be on a different side of the board than the blue, right? Because red is top. So what you're going to do is just keep going through this procedure. And essentially what you want to do is not have any of the colors mix. So you can't have a red crossing a red, but you can have a blue. So let's go back to blue for this one. You can have a blue going under. I think I gotta switch to blue. So you'll notice that the little wires are leaving as we complete them. So now this, normally if it was red you couldn't go across here, but because it's blue you can. And so now we can't get across this part because we have basically the blue down the middle and the red down the middle. You could tear up that wire if you wanted to, but we'll try to do it without it. So now when you connect something like this, it wants to go through the middle. So this pin is trying to get to there. So if you want to get really convoluted, you can go, so I'm blue going over red, so that's fine. And then if I hit spacebar, that creates a via. And now I'm red going under blue and getting to the point. These two have to be connected. So I can go around the top. And you can sort of see that that yellow wire follows me. And I can just go to the nearest point. So now let's do a design rule check because we have some problems. So so we're going to go to rules and we're going to do a design rule check. We're not going to set anything. And you can see that I have 2 errors. And over on this side, there's a bunch of different things. But if you go to the caution ones, it goes to error wires. And when I click on it, it highlights what is wrong. So, and then I'll click on the other one. So they're both kind of in the same place. So now I just have to go back to design. And I have to go back to my trace. Now these are both blue, so I want to be in blue. And I'm just going to join these together. And then I have essentially 1 error wire. Now technically I think those are all ground, so I wouldn't need to do anything with that and it would be perfectly fine. But when I did my design rule checks, it's going to give me the error. So we're going to find a way to make that happen. Maybe we should blow this one up. So if I unroute this object. Okay, so now I've got it unrouted. Let's maybe do the whole thing. And unroute this one. Okay, so we're going to be a little bit more careful. So that was the unroute button. We're going to join this so it's blue. So we're just going to go across. And then this one, we're going to bring it across. Now we can't do this with the blue, but we can bring it with a red. So let's start with red. Hit escape. We're going to go to red. We're going to come across. And then this one has to go here. So we're going to keep with the red theme. So now I think we're done. We're going to go back to rules. We're going to do a check. And now it says no errors. So that's kind of what we wanted. We're going to save it. It's giving us the driver board. And I don't know. Traces. We're going to hit save. And then the last thing that I can show you is that if we switch this to the PCB board, it's going to ask all these things, and we're going to push it. And this is what we come up with, is essentially the circuit board. We've got all these different things. I'm going to turn the packages off. So we can hold shift. So hold shift on the keyboard and the center mouse button, we can take a look at it. We can sort of see where the IC for the motor driver would go. This would be where the motors are going to be attached. These are the switches in each of the corners. These are the holes that we made without. And then we've got resistors, basically to tie the inputs down. And that is it. So at this point, what I need from you is I need a picture of your schematic. I need a screenshot of your board. I need you to do this for the screenshot. I want you to have this thing that says no errors. And then the last part is this, and I bet you could hand me in a link. So you could probably hand me in a link once that's saved. Let's see if it's available. Okay, so that is an intense project. Good luck with it and have fun doing it.